All right, well, I say we get started, and if they show up while we're presenting, it's perfect. Oh, and we can also just send them another email and meet with them separately too, but cool. So I'm Sam, since I haven't introduced myself yet. I'm Sam, I'm an architecture student here.
I'm Larissa. I'm also an architecture student at Cal Poly.
I'm Chris. I study city and regional planning at Cal Poly.
I'm Jake. I'm also architecture at Cal Poly.
I'm EJ. I'm a communication studies major at Cal Poly.
My name is Sina. I'm an environmental management and protection major at Cal Poly. And I'm sorry for the spotty background. My is not working.
Perfect. So that's who we all are. And we're also 6 student surfers that go to here to Cal Poly, and we're really passionate about sustainability. We're all in this program for the Sustainable Environments minor. And that's what this class is for. It's for EDES 408, which is a class that examines implementing sustainable practices at a local level, where we take on local projects and try and find needs that can be met and ways to improve the renewable resources that we have here in San Luis Obispo. And so the big thing that brought us together is that we care about the future of surfing and the future of sustainable surfboards. There's been a lot of cool research in the past about how surfing can be made into a more sustainable sport, and we were really interested in looking at how we can further that here in a local area.
So just a little bit as an insight of what the point of our project is. There is a presumption held about surfing, both by people who do and do not partake in the sport, that it connects humans with the natural world. While this is true to some degree, surfing poses major environmental impacts through the production of surfboards. While many other aspects of surfing can also be unsustainable, such as board wax, sunscreen, and wetsuit materials, for the purposes of this project, we will just be focusing on the surfboards themselves. One of the biggest components to the sustainability and environmental footprint of surfing products, and any product really, is the extraction, processing, transportation, and disposal of the different materials used in each product. The image on the right shows a standard poly surfboard made with polyurethane foam and polyester resin, which are both derived from petroleum-based products. Over generations, we have trashed the places that we've loved. A life cycle analysis study found that your everyday surfboard can leave a very considerable carbon footprint. An average polyester resin's shortboard, around 6'1", has the carbon footprint of around 400 pounds of carbon dioxide equivalent, and an epoxy 9'1" longboard is around 1,000 pounds carbon dioxide equivalent. Just for context, burning 1 gallon of gasoline releases about 20 pounds of carbon dioxide. However, new materials and methods are making the concept of green surfing much more plausible. If surfers source their material in an environmentally conscious way, the materials used can be post-consumer, and the sport itself can therefore rely on natural cycles and energy, and can be done in a very sustainable and low impact manner.
So who's involved? One of the big resources that we have here on campus at Cal Poly is the ASI Craft Center, where there's a surfboard shaping class as well as many other classes. Students can sign up to take these courses for either a weekend workshop or a quarter-long process where they meet and are able to use the ASI surfboard shaping bay to then make their own boards. It's a great opportunity for beginners and intermediates to really get their hands dirty with the actual process of making a board rather than just purchasing one and then having it go to waste. So they get to have their own board that they've made with their own hands. And the way it works is that ASI purchases blanks for them to use, and then student instructors are there to help them shape them down into the perfect size and shape. As well, one of the other big local resources we have is Chad Jackson, who went to Cal Poly a couple decades ago and has been making sustainable surfboards in the area since then. On Instagram is the Hemp Surfboards account, and he makes these boards out of hemp and agave products and is a really great resource for sustainable surfing.
All right, so I'm going to talk about some local actions to make a global impact. We want to implement sustainable practices over the following academic year in the Cal Poly Craft Center's surfboard shaping workshop. This is the perfect time to begin a transition as the Craft Center reopens following the COVID closure, with sustainable practices rather than returning to normal shaping conventions. To start, these practices can be actions like collecting scraps and dust from board templates which can be recycled into new blanks, as well as upcycled for other uses, and also sourcing recycled surfboard blanks from companies that make them. And like Sam mentioned, a local connection we've been in contact with is Chad Jackson, who is a SLO County local surfboard shaper and glasser. He utilizes hemp-based materials to shape his boards, and can be a resource to help guide the craft center towards the sustainable milestone. Cal Poly Surf Team and the Cal Poly Surf Rider Foundation can be advocates for the project on campus and spread the word and their support. And then globally, our project at Cal Poly will serve as an example for universities, workshops, and surfboard shapers around the world, paving the way for other campuses and other organizations to integrate simple, sustainable choices in their workshop and classes. And then another incentive is the Eco Board project, which is part of the Sustainable Surfboard organization. It's a community to build environmentally friendly surfboards, and they focus on reducing carbon footprints, increasing the use and reuse of renewable, recycled, and upcycled inputs, and reducing toxicity within the surfboard manufacturing process, and providing recognition and Eco Board labels on these surfboards that follow these practices.
So through this project, we want to illustrate and educate student surfers on the negative impacts of the current surfboard manufacturing process, while still advocating for the production of surfboards and surfboard products to be sourced in an environmentally conscious way. Pictured above are some examples that we've made of sustainable surfboards that have been recently receiving traction in the sustainable surfing market. Although they differ in some ways, they all rely on 3 performing material groups: an eco-friendly blank, a more eco-friendly fiberglass alternative, and a non-toxic coating. The eco-friendly blank is the area of focus for this project, where we have found 3 alternatives to the standard non-renewable board blanks that the Craft Center currently uses. The first is a board blank that is produced with algae biofuels rather than fossil fuels, which produces a significantly less amount of greenhouse gases in comparison to the typical PU foam board. These boards are also completely biodegradable, ultimately reducing the substantial impact that surfboards have had on landfills. However, Arctic Foam, which is the company that has been behind this product, has released a statement saying that this technology is still struggling to approach commercial viability. We believe that although this board is not the solution right now, it could still be the future of Cal Poly's surfboard workshop in the coming years once the technology has reached a commercial level. The second is a board made out of agave wood, which we discovered through Chad Jackson's support. This is a board which can be fully recycled and uses organic hemp as a non-toxic alternative to fiberglass. However, we ultimately decided that this process is way too time and skill intensive for adoption by the Craft Center, but could still be introduced into a part of a more long curriculum at Cal Poly. The third board is the chosen board to implement into the ASI Craft Center for fall of 2021. The Marco Foam is a SoCal company that manufactures foam boards made from recycled EPS grinds and surfboard scraps. This eco-friendly blank alternative is very similar to the board blanks that the Craft Center already uses and is the most feasible of the 3 sustainable surfboards to adopt. Although for this current project, we're focusing on sourcing recycled foam blanks for the Craft Center to use, future EDES 408 groups and Craft Center staff and clubs on campus could tackle the implementation of offering fiberglass alternatives like hemp or flax cloth or bioresin at the Craft Center.
Our end goal is to begin the process of integrating more sustainable practices and materials within the already existing surfboard shaping workshop offered at Cal Poly's Craft Center. After proposing this plan, we'll be able to pass this project along to those who will be able to keep the ASI Craft Center accountable and see this project through. We would do this by making connections between local manufacturers, sustainable crafters, and maybe in the future, material engineers at Cal Poly. Furthermore, if we can make surfboards more sustainable, then we can set a precedent for rethinking any field to become more sustainable as well. Ultimately, we also want to make an impact about the way we think about petroleum-based products. Plastics are an excellent material for the performance shapes needed in professional surfing. However, our surfboard shaping class is an excellent opportunity to use alternative materials and save plastics for the professional surfers and shapers. That being said, this is part of an ongoing, much larger conversation about where plastics belong in the 21st century and where we can instead use renewable materials and reduce our own impact.
This summer, the ASI Craft Center can start to buy sustainable blanks for the classes for their as they resume in this fall, and they can then utilize these for all iterations of the class for future quarters and future years. We also plan to propose further ways to improve the sustainability of the Craft Center's surfing courses that they can implement in the fall. These include potential changes like saving the foam shavings to be recycled and made into future board blanks. And yeah, then after the class, students could also be put in touch with people like Chad Jackson to help them with sustainable glassing techniques with bioresins and hemp. Then future plans would continue the conversation, potentially looking at other blank alternatives from sustainable manufacturers or even material science students are on campus with new techniques like algae-based manufacturing. These areas of improvement can hopefully be taken on by future EDES groups, Cal Poly's student sustainability community, and Craft Center staff.
All right, and that's pretty much it for us. I think just to sum it all up, like the first step is to look at the Craft Center as a place for sustainability to be explored, where we can begin immediately implementing recycled boards. And then all the other research that we've been doing this past quarter has been finding these other alternatives for future development into plastic alternatives and biodegradable products to both reduce waste and look at reduced emissions. So thank you all for coming tonight. And we're going to be on the Zoom call for a little bit if anybody has questions. I'm really glad you all could join us.
Thank you.
Thank you.